Brazil just got humiliated by Argentina. Let's get into it. So what's going on with Brazil? Brazil is having a very difficult time these days. I'm sure that all of you know by now that Brazil has just fired Dorival Jr. from the national team, and rightfully so. I agree. I'm in full agreement with what they just did. I'm not so sure that Brazil, even though I think they've been awakened by this trashing from Argentina, I still think that there is fundamental changes that must occur if the Brazilian football machine is going to move forward. Now, what do I mean by that? Brazilian coaches are absolutely terrible. They're absolutely terrible. There are no Brazilian coaches in Europe, or anywhere for that matter. Well, Savinho coaches Latvia, so he's doing well. And you have Thiago Motta, who is coaching Juventus, and he's doing well. Now, Thiago Motta was born in Brazil, but he's now an Italian, a Brazilian Italian. So if you want to count him, go right ahead. But they're terrible. Brazilian coaches are terrible. If you look at the Brazilian league, and let me just say this: if you look at the Brazilian league, the most successful coaches in recent times have been either Portuguese or Argentinians. I know that Dorival Jr. won the Copa Libertadores and the Brazilian Championship a few seasons ago, but nowadays that's an outlier. So if you look at the data, it shows you that Brazilian coaches are just awful. They're still stuck in this idea that they're the best. And they never were the best at coaching. If you look at the most successful era, the most successful times in Brazilian football, the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, the early 2000s, Brazil had great players. Brazil didn't need coaching. They just need good managers, right? A good manager, a good guy who can set the team out well to defend properly and so on. They just need good managers. But they primarily just let these guys go out and play. They just let Brazilians be Brazilians. And they were very successful at doing so. Now, the Europeans have cleverly counteracted the Brazil footballing machine, the genius of the Brazilian football machine. What the Europeans have done, and I'll add the South Americans into that mix as well. What the Europeans have done to counter Brazil, Argentina, and the rest of South America, they've changed the game. Because you have to understand, the Europeans recognized that they could not match the South American talent. Yeah, sure, they have players in Europe, sprinkled around Europe, that were great. Absolutely, I'm not going to say that they didn't. But generally speaking, they could not match the South American talent pool, especially Brazil and Argentina. They just couldn't match it. So they decided to keep a level playing field. We're going to change the game. And that's what they did. And they did so successfully because the Europeans are now and have been dominating world football. Anyway, they changed the game in the sense that it became more tactical. It became about, the game was turned over to coaches. They took away the creativity and the authenticity from footballers. And in so doing, it affected Brazil, Argentina, and South America. Not so much Argentina, but the rest of South America. It neutralized Brazil because Brazil failed to recognize that the game has changed. And they needed to improve their coaching. They needed to adopt a new way of coaching and playing. They refused to do so. And the evidence, the result is quite evident. Brazil has not been successful over the past 3 World Cups. Every time they come up against, in the knockout stage, against the European side, they've lost. Now, present day, they are absolutely struggling. If you trying to find a player that can remind you, that would remind you of players from the past, it would be Neymar. Maybe Vinicius Jr., but it would be definitely Neymar, right? Actually, I would also add Vinicius Jr. to that mix. But the days of Ronaldinho, Ronaldo Fenomeno, Zico, Rivaldo, these types of players, Socrates, I mean, you can go on. You already know. We can go on and pick out names. Romario. We can go on, right? You don't see these types of players anymore. And the reason for that is not because the talent pool is drying up. That's not the reason. The talent pool is just fine. The problem is they're developing these talented players into robots. They're neglecting their technical abilities, their absolute phenomenal skills. They're neglecting those things. What they're doing now, they have become a farm for the Europeans. Brazilians are now interested in, Brazilian football clubs are now interested in selling players to Europe, not developing great players. They're no longer doing that. They're developing players to sell to Europe. And in so doing, it's affecting Brazilian football. And it's affecting the national team. Brazil needs to get with it. To put it quite simply, they need to get with it. They need to get a European coach. They're not going to be successful with a Brazilian coach. It's not going to happen. They need to get a European coach. An average European coach can turn Brazil into the powerhouse that they are. Just an average European coach. Just imagine if they get like a top European coach, forget it. But just a good European coach can turn this team into the team that we know Brazil can be. I mean, that's the difference you're looking at when it comes to Brazilian coaches and European coaches. It's a chasm. So they need to fix that. But I just want to wrap it up and just say that, and I know this is a simple analysis, but if you look at Argentina and the pride that they have in their players and their past greats, these are the things that Argentina used to galvanize their small country, comparing to Brazil, for example. You don't see Argentinians naming their players after, or naming their kids after Brazilians. Show me one Argentinian player right now, playing abroad or playing domestically, that is named after a Brazilian. You don't see it at all. You don't see that. Now let's look at the other way around. How many kids you see with Argentinian names? Verón, Diego, just to name a couple. Brazil has become second best. They're too buddy-buddy with Argentina. They need to get back to the days when they recognize that this small country is their nemesis. How is that even possible? But they are your nemesis. Argentina continues to be a superpower when it comes to football. Brazil, you're not. You're no longer a superpower. Yes, you do have the players to get back to that status, but The coaches, you do not. Argentina, yes, they do. They were very clever, very smart in keeping up with the changes in football. Brazil did not. Arrogance. My boys, arrogance. You need to change that. You need to change that. Get back to your proud days. Get back to those days where it's all about Brazil. Anyway, guys, if you agree with what I'm saying, please leave a comment in the comment section. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Until next time, take care.